You know that feeling when the phone rings and your first instinct is to let it go to voicemail? When you hear someone knock at the door and instead of answering, you freeze like a deer in headlights, hoping they'll just go away. You're not alone. And no, you're not turning into some kind of grumpy recluse. You're just aging. And with aging comes something most folks never talk about. This subtle, creeping desire to be left alone more often. But here's the thing no one tells you. That feeling is completely normal. In fact, it might even be healthy. Let's talk about why. Back in your younger days, social interaction was everywhere. At work, at school, through your kids, on the bus, at the grocery store. People were always around, and you got used to it, maybe even relied on it. But as you get older, something changes. It's not that you dislike people, you just don't need them in the same way, not all the time. And that's not selfish, antisocial, or weird. It's psychology. Deep, well-studied, and actually very logical psychology. Reason number one, your tolerance for nonsense drops to near zero. When you're young, you put up with a lot. Bad friends, gossip, pointless small talk, family drama. The guy who talks about himself for 2 hours without asking you a single question. But as the years go by, your patience for that evaporates. You've spent decades dealing with nonsense, and at some point, your inner self just goes, no more. You stop pretending to laugh at jokes that aren't funny. You stop entertaining opinions that make no sense. You walk away from people who exhaust you. It's not cruelty, it's self-preservation. You've learned to recognize emotional noise, and you finally give yourself permission to mute it. Reason number two, your priorities shift. You start asking yourself different questions. How much energy do I have today? Who actually makes me feel good when I talk to them? Who drains me? Who do I trust? You're no longer chasing popularity, approval, or a full calendar. You're chasing peace. You want meaningful conversations, not surface-level chit-chat. You want people who get you, not people who tolerate you. And if the right people aren't available, you'd rather sit in silence than force a smile. That's not loneliness. That's freedom. That's wisdom. The third reason is deeply emotional, and one that surprises people. It's grief. As you get older, you lose people. Friends move, loved ones pass, relationships fade. Each loss takes a little chunk out of your social world. And for many, that world shrinks without them even realizing it. And here's the quiet truth. Some folks don't want to rebuild it. It's not depression. It's not giving up. It's just a deep awareness that time is limited. And with that comes a focus on quality over quantity. It's the soul saying, I've loved hard, I've lost hard, and now I only have space for what feels truly safe. That brings us to reason number 4. Social fatigue. Not the kind that a nap can fix, but a deeper psychological weariness. You've spent a lifetime managing personalities, navigating group dynamics, accommodating, mediating, entertaining, and over time, that becomes exhausting. You don't bounce back as quickly. A 1-hour lunch with someone who talks too much can wipe you out for the whole afternoon. A family gathering with 3 competing conversations at once feels like running a mental marathon. And so, you stop saying yes to everything. You choose rest over obligation. You protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Let me tell you something most people won't say out loud. Older people aren't always lonely. In fact, many are deeply content being alone. But society doesn't like that narrative. We're constantly told that connection is the ultimate goal, that the more people you have around you, the happier you'll be. But here's the twist. Connection doesn't always mean company. Sometimes connection is knowing who you are without distraction. Sometimes it's enjoying your own thoughts, listening to the birds, reading a book, staring at the wall with a cup of tea, and not feeling the need to explain yourself. That's not avoidance. That's evolution. There's a 5th reason people avoid others more as they age, and it's a powerful one: self-awareness. You finally know yourself, and I mean really know yourself. You know what pushes your buttons, what lifts your spirit, what your limits are. And with that knowledge comes a kind of protective instinct. You stop putting yourself in situations that go against your nature. If small talk drains you, you avoid it. If certain people stir up old wounds, you create distance, not to punish them, but to preserve your peace. It's a quiet kind of strength, the kind you earn through experience. And don't forget, as you age, your time becomes more precious. That's the sixth and final reason for now. Time starts to feel different. When you're 20, an hour feels like nothing. When you're 70, an hour feels like gold. You're more mindful of how you spend it, who you give it to, and whether it leaves you feeling better or worse. You realize that every coffee date, every phone call, every visit, it all comes at a cost, not just of time, but of energy. And so you invest that time more wisely. Sometimes that means choosing solitude over company, not because you dislike people, but because you love yourself enough to be selective. Now here's where things get interesting. People around you might not understand this change. They might say you're withdrawing, that you're not as fun as you used to be, that you've changed. But here's the truth. They're right. You have changed. And that's the whole point. You're not here to be the life of the party. You're here to live your life on your terms. To feel what you feel, to say no without guilt, to say yes only when it matters. You didn't survive this long just to keep everyone else comfortable. You're not rude. You're real. And the older you get, the more sacred that becomes. Now, let's dig even deeper, because this shift in social behavior isn't just about protecting your time or avoiding stress. It's also about clarity. There's a kind of mental sharpness that comes with age, not in the sense of memory, but in awareness. You start to see through things faster. The fake smiles, the flattery, the one-sided friendships. You don't need a 3-month fallout to realize someone's not right for you. One conversation can tell you everything. And that awareness can be exhausting if you're still trying to play the social game. So instead, you step back, you simplify, you let go of the need to explain yourself. You stop justifying why you left the party early or didn't return that call. You no longer owe people your presence just because you used to. That kind of self-honesty can feel like isolation from the outside. But on the inside, it feels like relief. Another part people don't talk about enough is your changing capacity for emotional labor. You might have been the peacemaker in your family, the go-to friend, the one who always reached out first, kept the connections alive, made the plans. But after decades of being the glue, you begin to ask, who's holding me together? And if the answer is no one, you slowly step out of that role. Not to punish anyone, but to stop betraying your own needs. You trade people-pleasing for peace of mind. And yes, some people might fall away when you stop carrying them. But the ones who stay, they're gold. And let's not forget the body's role in all of this. Physical aging affects your social behavior too. You may tire more easily. Loud environments might be overwhelming. Your joints ache. Your back needs support. And suddenly, that 2-hour dinner with 5 people doesn't sound like fun. It sounds like endurance training. That physical strain mixed with mental fatigue makes quiet time feel like a gift. So you adjust. You decline more invites. You prefer early afternoons over late nights. You design a life that fits your body, not the other way around. Then there's a layer we haven't even mentioned yet. Identity. As you age, your identity changes. You're no longer the parent of small children. You're no longer climbing the career ladder. You've retired, or maybe you've shifted your lifestyle entirely. And with that identity shift comes a social shift. The people you once bonded with, fellow parents, co-workers, younger relatives, they may not feel as connected to you anymore. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because your lives no longer mirror each other. You move into different rhythms, and that's okay. You're not meant to hold on to every connection forever. In fact, letting go can be one of the healthiest things you do. Because what you make space for, those quiet mornings, the phone call from the one person who really gets you, the long walk without having to perform for anyone, that's the stuff your soul actually craves now. Less stimulation, more meaning. Less noise, more depth. It's not about rejecting people. It's about refining your circle. And that refinement can feel lonely at first, but eventually it becomes a kind of clarity. Some people will never understand this. They'll say, You used to be so social, or why don't you come out anymore? And you might struggle to answer, because how do you explain 1,000 quiet realizations? How do you summarize decades of growth in one polite sentence? The truth is, you don't owe an explanation, not anymore. You've earned the right to disappear into your own peace without guilt. And here's something that might surprise you. This shift in behavior, this quieting of your social life, it can actually extend your life. Studies have shown that reducing stress and protecting your emotional health are key factors in longevity. When you avoid toxic conversations, when you limit overwhelming environments, when you choose serenity over obligation, you're not withdrawing, you're healing, you're preserving energy for what matters, and your body knows it. That's why so many elders seem calmer. They've stopped trying to impress anyone, stopped trying to fix what can't be fixed. They walk slower, but their minds are clearer. They talk less, but when they speak, it matters. They're not running from people, they're running toward themselves, toward the version of themselves they were too busy to meet before. There's a quote you've probably heard. As I grow older, I pay less attention to what people say. I just watch what they do. That's what aging does. It teaches you to observe more and react less. You no longer need to prove anything. You no longer chase the approval of people who never understood you. You start choosing peace over pride, solitude over forced connection, truth over tradition, and it feels good. Now, here's the beautiful irony. When you stop needing people around you all the time, the right ones start showing up. You stop begging for connection and start attracting it naturally. You no longer force conversations, they just happen. You don't schedule companionship, it finds you. And those few people who remain, they become priceless because they love the quiet version of you, the real version, not the one who showed up to every event, but the one who shows up fully when it matters. So, if you're finding yourself more withdrawn lately, more selective, more quiet, don't panic. Don't second guess it. Don't let the world tell you something's wrong. You're not broken. You're blooming. You're peeling away everything that doesn't serve you. You're not becoming less social. You're becoming more you. And that's a kind of joy that can't be faked. Maybe your calendar's empty this weekend. Maybe the phone hasn't rung in a few days. Maybe you spent your afternoon doing absolutely nothing with a peaceful heart. That's not loneliness, that's arrival. That's what it feels like when your life starts fitting just right. And if this message felt like it understood you better than most people do lately, then don't let it be the last time we talk. Subscribe to the channel. We're building a quiet little corner here just for folks like you. No noise, no pressure. Just real talk, soul-deep stories, and the peace you've earned.